interesting things are happening. Joy Reid, you guys know that she was fired from MSNBC. We covered that story when that news broke. Joy Reid is now showing a different side of herself. In fact, she went onto the Breakfast Club recently and she started to lay out what happened behind the scenes leading up to her dismissal from the network. She was also on CNN as part of a panel discussion. And it's like, this is a completely different person. This is not the Joy Reid that we saw on MSNBC. Is now that she seems to be, independent, now it's almost as if you get to see who she really is. What's that all about? Let's get into this chat she had here with Charlamagne the God and the Breakfast Club fam. What went on behind the scenes?
Interesting. And, Stephen A. Smith tried to come for me and say, oh, ratings. It's like, yeah, no, that wasn't it. Everybody after the 2024 election, all of cable news went in the toilet. Like everybody's ratings dropped. And we had actually just had a ratings meeting like 2 weeks before I was fired where they were like, you guys are actually losing. You guys lost less than, your competitors and you're actually doing fine. So ratings were fine. We were doing fine. And, the ratings have not gotten better since I left. They've actually gotten, so it's not like it wasn't
I haven't
numbers.
watched it all.
Yeah. So it's not numbers. It wasn't ratings. And when I got the call, we at first thought it was a rumor. We had seen that there was this like Puck story that Friday where, and we didn't know what to do with it. We had already done our show. We had wrapped. I was having my cocktail. My executive producer called me and said, look, all of our producers are freaking out over this Puck story. So you should see it. And it was like a rumor. We were like, nah, we hadn't heard anything. Nobody had called me. Nobody had said you did something wrong. You're in trouble. You're on probation. I had gotten nothing.
Unfortunately, a lot of times that's how it works though. Unfortunately, in fact, at my previous employer, when I was at Boston University, people that I know that were fired that year, because, they were running amok. Like the university was like tripping. After the pandemic started, the university was tripping. They were getting rid of people left and right. And then later on, they were trying to find a way to keep people from leaving. It was really weird, right? Again, all about money. But they were firing people without warning. And no reason given or anything. So you're not always given a reason. You're not always given a warning.
And I get a text message then early the next morning saying, can you talk at noon? And I was fired immediately. There was no warning. So and I asked, well, what's nothing. They were just like, oh, we just want to make some changes. They never said why. So I've had to live in the rumor mill with everybody else.
Mm-hmm. So you still don't really know
No.
Do you feel like, because you were brought in at the height of 2020 with the election, when the firing happened, was there any feeling of you were used as a voice just during that time and then they wanted to step away?
No, I think, just myself, I think about the things that were making management uncomfortable that I can tell you were stated to me. And the two things that I think made, and I don't think it's just the management there. I think that in the cable news world and the news world in general, these two topics make management uncomfortable in the media in general. One of them is Trump, because Trump is suing everybody. Yeah. I mean, he's literally threatening people to the point where 60 Minutes is shook, where ABC News is shook. He's verbally threatened Comcast by name, named Brian Roberts by name. And all of these are businesses that want to do business that need the FCC's approval.
Mm-hmm. You know who else is suing? Not just Donald Trump. You know who else is suing media networks now? Governor Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is suing Fox News. I saw that report earlier this morning for defamation. I think we're going to see more of this, by the way, the defamation suits coming from people. It's crazy. It's bizarre. But that's one of the reasons that Joy is saying that, in other words, these networks, I guess, felt threatened by Trump's lawsuit. So the last thing they wanted to do is, I guess, piss off Donald Trump even more. So this is Joy Reid admitting to us that the news is not really giving you the real news. They're giving you what they think is going to be somewhat palatable so that Donald Trump won't try to sue them. Is everybody catching this? Again, we got to look at the big picture here, folks. This is Joy Reid letting you know Well, we've been saying for a long time that corporate media is controlled. Right? Let's go on.
They actually have to have the federal government's approval to do mergers, acquisitions. He can't hurt them.
Broadcast, you can get your license taken away.
He can pull your license. They can't do it to cable because FCC doesn't regulate cable. But when you have broadcast partners, and you see the fact that NBC broadcast was physically separated from MSNBC, that feels protective, right? We got to protect our broadcast assets, which the FCC can. So it's like everyone is trying to navigate this really deranged man who is so emotional. And he behaves so emotionally that if he's mad at you in one moment, he may stop your mergers just because he feels like it, like he bombed Iran. He's just like, I'm pissed off. And so I think they're activating out of a sense of we don't want to poke the bear too much. And, and I'm not the only person that was doing it. There are lots of people at MSNBC. That was kind of our brand. We were the resistance, right? And we're sincere about it. We weren't making it up. All of us in Prime, we were serious about what we.
But you weren't really resistance, because here's the thing. Well, I'll say this. Maybe they were resisting Donald Trump, but they weren't resisting status quo. They weren't resisting the establishment. They were part of the establishment. They supported the establishment, and they went against, I'll say, working class people multiple times. All of these policies that would help people who are struggling in this country, and also people who are just even trying to get to the middle class, which we don't really have in this country anymore. All of those policies that would greatly benefit that, they smeared those policies. So MSNBC, like when she says they were the resistance, what were you really resisting other than Donald Trump as president? Because you weren't resisting the establishment. You weren't resisting the status quo. You were actually keeping those things in place. And I'll give an example, which I said on this show before. Don't forget, there are many in independent media that have been around longer than me. And Joy Reid was one of the mouthpieces that smeared those people. The black ones. That's right. Joy Reid said, don't listen to those people. And now she finds herself over here on YouTube with the rest of us. Those same people that she said not to listen to. Then now she becomes one of those people. Everybody see where I'm going with this? So see, this is, I kind of called it karma when it happened before. But the reality is you got to be careful, because sometimes it's easy to point fingers when you're in that position. Like, these people make a lot of money. Like, these anchors on MSNBC, CNN, they make a lot of money. More than I'll ever make in my lifetime, and more than you'll probably ever make in your lifetime. And they get paid to spread propaganda. Joy Reid was very much a part of that. Now, at any time, she could have left. At any time, she could have walked away if she wanted to. So we have to keep this in mind. Joy Reid was fired. If Joy Reid wasn't fired, is she having this conversation with the Breakfast Club right now? No, because she probably would have still been there. That's the point I'm trying to get across to you folks. She was totally fine with it when it suited her interest. Now, I have a lot more respect for those that got up and walked away. I have a lot of respect, and some commentators did. I have a lot of respect for the commentators that said, no, I'm not doing this anymore, and got up and left and walked away and decided to go independent. But it's different when you got fired, and that's why you're independent, versus you walked away because they wanted you to continue to tell lies and you're independent. Does everybody see the difference there? All right.
You were saying. So I think that was one piece. I think the other piece is Gaza. And you just can't get away from the fact that talking about Gaza in a way that humanizes Palestinians is not the usual way that cable news operates, or that any news in this country operates. For whatever reason, that topic makes people uncomfortable.
And who owns those cable media networks? Who owns those cable media networks? You're right, Brian. 100%. Mehdi didn't even get fired, but still walked away. To his credit, Jim Acosta did the same thing. That's what I'm talking about. It's different for those who chose to walk away. But she was totally fine continuing to spread, as long as she was getting all those perks with MSNBC. Like I said, these people are treated very well. Very well. I don't know about you. I don't know what it's like to have a car come pick me up, take me to work. I don't know what it's like to have somebody, sit me down and do my makeup and my hair. I don't know what that's like. All of this is homemade. All this is homemade. I do my own makeup, boo. So I don't, These people were enjoying a great life and the perks that came with it. So just keep that in mind. Again, who owns the networks? Why is it that Gaza makes corporate media so uncomfortable? Who owns it? Who owns Fox News? Who owns CNN? Think about it. Think about it. Okay? All righty.
And it doesn't make regular folks uncomfortable because I think the majority of Americans agree that what's happening there is not just a genocide, but is unconscionable for us to participate in. Mm-hmm. I think most Americans believe that, agree with that. But there was a discomfort with that topic that I saw in the policing of my social media, in requests to not like certain things on social media. There was a sense that topic, it makes people uncomfortable.
Saying you want to see innocent men, women, and children not be killed shouldn't make anybody uncomfortable.
It shouldn't. It didn't with Rwanda. When the Hutu and the Tutsi were slaughtering each other, we very easily in the media said that was a genocide, right?
But that's not the best example. Because again, with Rwanda, they weren't being genocided by Israel. So you know what the problem is. It's because it's Israel that is doing it. That's why. So making that connection is important. And Charlemagne just sitting there like, Lord, help him. Charlemagne is just sitting there just kind of like, I don't know. I don't understand. Yeah, all you guys can play dumb if you want to. But the reality is, you know what the problem was. You know it's because it's Israel. That's why. And actually, if we want to go back to Rwanda, in the beginning, that is not what Bill Clinton said. In the beginning, Bill Clinton denied that there was a genocide in Rwanda. He had to come back and apologize and say that there was. So Joy still being kind of, because look, Joy still want access now. Don't get it twisted. She has her own show on YouTube now, but she still want access. So Joy is, even in this interview, she's being somewhat careful about the way she is saying things, right? She's not saying what I just told you because she still wants to have that access to people in corporate media. Just the same thing, just like with Don Lemon, same thing. Right. So they all trying to like tiptoe around the issue here. And we know what the issue is.
I mean, if you look at what Russia is doing to Ukraine, when they bomb a school or a hospital or a music school, that is reported as barbaric. Mm-hmm. It's reported as genocidal. When they're stealing Ukrainian children and kidnapping them to Russia, there's moral clarity from the media, and there's no hesitation to say that what Russia is doing is evil.
That was not considered genocidal, what she was just talking about there, though. That's the thing. Some people will see this and they're going to say that I'm biased because it's Russia. No, it's just not. Like, that was not considered the same thing.
But when it comes to what's happening to the people in Gaza, number one, it isn't talked about that much on U.S. media. If you go overseas, it's on a lot more. And then number two, the way it's spoken about is, I don't know, maybe it's like when a friend is doing something wrong, you don't want to talk about them. You don't want to say anything negative. But there is a hesitation. I definitely think that's a thing in American media.
No, it's not because it's a friend. It's because it's Israel. And then you have to make the connection with who owns those networks. That's what this is really all about. I told you guys before. A lot of us don't really own anything. So like sometimes when I say like follow the money, you know, we got to follow that money all the way up to the tippity top. It's like you can say that Disney owns ESPN. Okay. But who owns Disney? And who are the shareholders for Disney? Right? Because you have BlackRock, you have Vanguard Group that are shareholders for CNN. I mean, you really do have to follow that money and then you put the pieces all together. And that's why some things are the way that they are. It's sad, but it's true.
Has anybody from the show reached out to you since the layoff?
I still talk to all of my friends that are over there. You know what I mean? I mean, the beautiful thing about MSNBC, I think there's an assumption in that the media world is super competitive and that people are catty and competitive. The people that I worked with at MSNBC, we genuinely are friends. Like, they are incredible people, brilliant people. I mean, Rachel Maddow is like an actual genius. Like, that is real. You know, Nicole Wallace, lovely person. You know, I still talk to Stephanie Rule. That's my girl.
Yeah, that's your girl and those your friends, but they're still there and you're not. because they're still spreading the same propaganda that you were just preaching against. So let's put all that together, okay? Because they decided to continue propaganda. They decided not to stand up for what was happening in Gaza. I mean, I don't know, you guys. I don't know.
Cuckoo crazy. She's a lot of fun. Y'all should have her on here. She is a hoot. Alex Wagner, that's my girl. You know what I mean? Like, these are my people. I love Chris Hayes. Like, these are my people. So I still, keep in touch. And a lot of the producers from my show, I'm still in touch with them because we weren't like faking being friends. Like, we were actually friends. Yeah. So I still have deep respect for the people who are on air over there. And the people I worked with, I think they were all genuine and sincere human beings. And I loved my crew. Yeah.
They were genuine and sincere human beings, but they still there because they're still preaching the propaganda. That's not being genuine. They still have their jobs at MSNBC because they were willing to continue to lie and not question what Israel was doing. That's it. I mean, I don't know how much to say it. How else I can say this, you guys? Right? So again, I have a lot of respect for those that walked away on their own, right? Even if I think they're corny, I have a lot of respect for that. But again, if Joy Reid did not get fired, does this conversation with the Breakfast Club happen? I want to remind everybody, Joy Reid has been known to blacklist people. Brianna Joy Gray wrote an article about this in Current Affairs not too long ago. She was booked as a guest on Joy Reid's show. And the staffer who booked her was removed because they didn't want Bree to come on there. She was blacklisted. There's a number of people in independent media that have been blacklisted. That's why you don't see them on even some of these panel discussions, like on CNN and stuff like that, right? They don't want too much of that getting out there, right? So put that all together. But then when it happened to you, so see, this is why, and I just said this before, it's karma, because you put your foot down, you shut the door behind you, you pulled up the ladder behind you, and you prevented Black independent voices from coming on to MSNBC, in particular, your show. And then that same network fired you, and now you find yourself right over here on YouTube with the rest of us. Now you over here with us, slumming it with us. So you never know where your path, your journey is going to take you. And that's why, like, when you at the top, that's why you can't look down on the little people. Because as soon as you get something, it can also be taken away from you, especially if you don't own it. She didn't own the network. You can find yourself right there with the people that you said don't listen to, the people that you said didn't know what they were talking about. You find yourself right in that hole. So I sincerely hope that Joy will be humbled from this experience. But I think she owes independent Black media an apology for the things that she did. Now check this out. Now she over on CNN, right? On a panel on CNN. Now, all of a sudden, again, I don't know who this person is. This is not the Joy Reid we saw on MSNBC. Now, all of a sudden, she wants to tell the truth. Listen to this.
Understand that the United States plays an important role in the world. I am thrilled that the United States is trying to police the proliferation of nuclear weapons. Imagine what the world would look like if it was otherwise. And I think that to throw away our moral voice
would still be the only country that has ever bombed another country with nuclear weapons. And let me ask you one question. Why did the Iran hostage crisis take place?
So certainly,
I'm asking you
fundamentalist radicals took over the government who hate the West.
Why did they take over the government? Why?
Because they're religious jihadis who want to eliminate Western society.
They hate our way of life. They hate our way of life.
Or they overthrew the Shah of Iran, who we imposed on Iran because the Dulles brothers, one at the CIA and one at the State Department, decided that the oil beneath the soil of Iran belonged to BP and belonged to us. And when Mossadegh, who was the leader of Iran, the democratically elected leader of Iran, said that we would like to audit BP because we want to know if you are cheating us or paying the people of Iran based on the oil under their soil. And they said, you may not audit us. And then we overthrew him and he wound up dying in prison because we decided that we, in our arrogance as a country, got to own their oil. And wait a minute.
So who was this? Where was this Joy when she was on MSNBC? You see what I'm saying? Like, where was this? Where was it?
No, one moment. And so the hatred of the United States had to do with the hatred of the Shah, who brutally repressed the people of Iran for 26 years until he was overthrown within Iran because he was not their natural king. They didn't want a king any more than we wanted a king.
Yeah,
the bottom line is the arrogance of the United States' foreign policy. We act as if people act in a vacuum, and that nothing we do has ever led to the hatred of us in other countries. And I'm not saying that hostages should be taken, but you just said because they hate our freedoms. Well, that's BS.
No, they hate the Western workplace. I want to answer
let me just
Understand.
So you see the difference, right? You see the difference now that she's no longer with MSNBC. So this is what I was trying to tell you guys. Joy knows. Joy, she's Congolese. Joy knows what this foreign policy stuff. Joy is well aware about what's really going on. So keep that in mind. And in all the years that I saw her on MSNBC, and if you saw it, send it to me, let me know. All the years I saw on MSNBC, how often did you hear her fight for the Congolese people? And what's going on in the Congo and how they have children working in the mines so that we can have rechargeable batteries. I don't remember seeing her talk about those things. You see what I'm saying? But she over here with us on YouTube. See, she got a YouTube channel called The Joy Reid Show. By the way, all of her videos are copyright. It's written in the detailed description, so you can't play her videos on your show. Just thought I'd let you guys know that. And she has 188,000 subscribers. And let me tell you something. Look, for those who are popular, those who have name recognition, right? Those who came from corporate media, when they come over to YouTube, they grow very quickly. It took me years to get to 188,000 subscribers because independent media, there's a layer of suppression on YouTube, but there's an added layer of suppression for independent media. You guys have heard us talk about that before, right? So see how she can just come over here this year and easily get to 188,000 subscribers, and it took the rest of us years to get that? It ain't easy over here. It ain't easy. And I gave people this warning. I gave people this warning about a year ago. Watch out for the number of corporate media people that are making their way over to YouTube to do quote unquote independent media. And then when they come over here, they realize this isn't as easy as they thought. Like what we do, this is not easy. And there are a lot of us, and this, not even just this channel, okay? There's a lot of people that do independent media that are smaller channels who I've had on the show. Don't have a producer. Don't have a setup. Again, I got this ring light, I think late last year. Go back and look at some of my old videos. You can see the difference. So it takes time. It takes time to build up, to get the camera, etc., all these types of things. But Joy, because she is who she is, just like with Don Lemon, they were already household names. So when they came over here, they grew very quickly. Whereas the rest of us, we started here on YouTube and we pretty much crawled our way. Like I crawled my way up, 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 up. It took time. So, never point your finger down at the little people like us, because you might find yourself over here with the rest of us one day too. And then you see just how different things are, because you got to do this yourself. But interesting that she's explaining more what happened behind the scenes with MSNBC. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.